This is Andrew with the Chosen Prime with a video review of Generation Toy GT-3 op.ex, which is their version of IDW Comic Prime. I mean, you can see the figure here. He's quite large, almost Masterpiece scale, and we'll get to those kind of comparisons in a little bit. But you do get the figure. He does come packaged in a nice hard-edged box here with the slipcover. You open up the slipcover, and inside you do get a nice box here with the foam inlay. He comes packaged in his robot mode. Inside the foam, you get, as far as accessories, you get his weapon here. You get a tow hitch piece, which will show off in a little bit. And then you also get some nice kind of instructions here. His transformation is actually very good, but then you do get some nice instructions here to go through that process. And we'll show it off in a little bit. So let's take a closer look here at op.ex. Taking a closer look here at op.ex, you can see that Generation Toy has done a really good job of realizing IDW Comic Optimus Prime. This does look just like his comic mode version of the character. You can see here that the backpack is very clean, very little kind of kibble on this figure other than these arm panels, which are kind of part of the actual design. And then coming down to the legs here, you can see the same kind of thing where very clean, solid legs here. Everything locks into place very securely. He's a nice stiff figure, and just overall, just really excellent looking version here of Optimus. Nice bits of paint kind of called throughout, silver bits here on the legs, a little gold detail on the interior, lighter blue. All of this is painted silver. The red has got nice red details kind of throughout with the silver and bits. It just looks really nice overall. op.ex is about 9.5 inches to the top of his antenna here, so it's quite a tall figure overall. Very much Masterpiece scale and very similar to the height of Optimus Prime MP-10. He's also quite heavy. He's 1 pound and 1 ounce. And that's due to different pieces of die-cast of metal in him. So his thighs here have metal, the toes, the heel spurs, and I believe that the axles here for the tires for the truck mode also have metal in them. So he's a nice steady, heavy figure, a lot of weight to him. As far as robot mode features, he does have light up eyes. He does come with a battery pre-installed in the factory. So if we flip the head around, there's a little switch on the back, and if we just toggle it to the left, he does have some nice lit up blue light piped-esque eyes. And it's kind of hard to see on my setup here due to all my lights, but it does almost look like kind of just basic light piping just naturally occurring. And it's a very nice light clear blue. And it's nice that they included that little battery feature just, from the factory. He also has a matrix. So if we open up the chest here, and we just partially move these panels out of the way, this panel can lift up. We can pull this panel down, and he does have that matrix. It is removable. It just kind of slots in there. So, standard for an Optimus, he does have a matrix, and you can just plug it back in and hide it. Matter closing up. As far as articulation, his head can rotate on this joint. He also has a pivot to look up and down quite a bit. The shoulders have a bit of play going forward and back on each side. They can rotate on a friction joint. They also have a little bit of play inwards and outwards. If you partially lift up this panel and mistransform, you can bring up the arm even further if you like. He does have a bicep swivel here. He has double jointed elbows, so he can curl quite a bit on each side. The hands can rotate, and then as far as the individual fingers are concerned, the bottom 3 can curl on one pin, and then he's got an index finger that's got multiple joints, and then the thumb is on a ball joint, so you can move in and out of the way so you get some pointing poses. This panel on each arm does have a bending spot, and it's on its own hinge to spin, so you can kind of rotate it if it gets in your way, but it does have a natural kind of locking point. There's this little kind of tooth mechanism here that just sits and slightly grabs on to a part here on his arm to kind of stay naturally situated in that position. He does rotate at the waist, quite nice. Stiff joints outward and forward and back. Upper thigh swivel. As far as his knees are ratcheted and they are double jointed. Double knees. The toes and the feet, He does have standard ankle articulation side to side, but then the toes themselves, the front of the foot can move inward and outward, and the toe can point, and then the heel here can also pivot and move. So you have a lot of options as far as posing this guy. As far as his weapon, it's the standard kind of pegged handle here. So if we take his hand, and I find it easiest to just kind of get his hand mostly curved around it, get the handle into place, and then kind of close the fingers around the gun, and that'll push it and lock it into his hand. And he can wield his weapon. As far as overall posability here for op.ex, you can get some really nice action poses out of the figure with all the joints. He'll hold pretty much every pose that you want to kind of get him set in due to his weight distribution and multiple joints. And so you get some really cool looking poses here out of this version of Optimus, and kind of get some comic styled poses set up for your display. Just overall a really excellent version here of Prime. Again, with all the different little panels here, there's really no gaps. You can see they fill in the back and his sides with all the different panels from the truck. Just an excellent version here of IDW Optimus Prime. So let's go ahead and take a look at his transformation into his truck mode. So to transform op.ex into his truck mode, we want to start with his arms here. So lift up on these panels on each side, and then take the arm and rotate it at the bicep 180. Flip down on this panel here, curl the arm so that it sits like that, and then take the entire arm and lift up to this point, and then kind of collapse down on the arm like that for now. So come to the other side, flip on the panel, rotate the arm around, flip this down, lift up on the arm so it fits into that channel, bend the arm. So come to the arm panel here, and if you lift up, you can see there's a little hinge piece here. So when you're going back into robot mode, make sure you kind of fit this into that little gap there. We want to take the entire piece here and fold it onto the other side, and it'll kind of snap into place. This little gray tab will fold out. Now we can rotate the hand in. So do it on the other side. Lift up on this panel, fold it all the way to the outside here. Flip on this gray piece, rotate the fist in. Come around to his back, lift up on these little wing pieces to kind of get them out of the way. These panels here will untap from each other, and if you look, they actually have these pieces here that come down and they will cover his torso when he's in robot mode. We want to lift them both up, and then these panels that were the fillers, we want to fold in on themselves, and then we want to hinge them around the arms so we have clearance for the next piece here on his back. Come to this bumper piece back here and fold it down to get it out of the way. Come to the tires, push them out and they'll lock into place, and then untab the wheel parts here from his back. And if you look, there's this little gray piece that can fold in and out, and it actually fits here underneath the arm to kind of hold the arm and lock the arm into place. So when you come back up this way, make sure that you kind of have that pushed underneath the arm joint here, and then it sits here into the backpack, because the arm will slide down from truck mode. But come to this little gray piece and fold it inward for now. So again, we'll untab this, fold the panel in, move the arm down. We can come around to the front, fold the wheels kind of mostly towards his front, and now we can come to the part here. We want to untab these two pieces to get to this interior. These pieces here will fold up on their double hinges, up and out of the way. And if we look, there's these little gray tabs here at his waist that actually hold this piece to his torso, and we just want to move them out of the way and unlock them. So remember to lock them into place when you get to that part of the transformation. And unlocking it will let it so that once we move these forward, he can now bend backwards like that. So come to his chest piece here, and like MP-10, it kind of will come down and fill into this space with this panel set like that. And if we look here, right behind his grill is this little red peg piece we want to fold forward. And now we can take his head and fold it in. And his ears actually do fit into some nice little channels here, protected here in his chest. And now we can kind of collapse the chest again. So these double hinges will come down and they'll actually peg into this little piece that we folded up, locking this in place. We can lock these in and double hinge them in, filling at the front. Come to his torso, we want to rotate it 180 degrees. Now we want to expand and move out this bumper piece, and then it will split. They tab together here in the middle, and we want to hinge them outwards. And it'll come up onto the front of the truck here, and it'll tab into this little piece here that we folded out, as well as tab into these red pieces that we set aside. And then if we look, those little gray panels that locked the arms into place will now push out towards these axles. And there's essentially the front of the truck mode. Come to his back here. This piece here will hinge downwards, like so. These little hip skirts here will fold up into his torso like this. We can come to his legs. The heel pieces here have a panel that we want to move and fold backwards, and then rotate the heel so that now like these painted pieces are facing this way. Real quick, you can see here that there's actually a little bit of rubber piece here on the toe to help for extra stability. We want to take that toe, fold it in, and it'll lock the entire foot in like that. This blue piece here will double hinge downwards and kind of sit on the back of the foot. And then this piece here at the leg will untab and fill forward, and it'll kind of just rest in a spot here on the leg. So we'll do the other leg. Take this panel on the heel, close in the heel, fold this up, bend in the toe, lock this all in, double hinge this piece back, this little piece here in the middle, one tab, and straighten out. And now we can take those two halves and peg them together. These leg pieces here now will lift up, and then they will accordion forward onto the silver parts of his knees, kind of making the back of the truck mode. Come to his arms, rotate them so that they are facing with this kind of fist facing out this way, and then they'll hinge backwards, filling in the back part of the truck. So rotate this piece and then fold them in. These little panels here will peg in to the gray parts that we just opened up temporarily. These panels will come down and sandwich in nicely to the side of the truck on each side, just nice and smooth. These pieces on the legs here will now hinge forward, and there's a little tab that matches the part on the wheel, and it's a matter of just kind of getting that all pegged together and lined up on each side. Nice and secure there. We can now take his gun, and so his gun stores in vehicle mode. We want to take this piece, hinge it backwards on itself, fold this forward, and then the entire piece here folds downward. And these little tabs here that match spaces here on the red pieces, and we want to just fit it in here. And it'll help sandwich the arms together between these two tabs. Like so. And now it's just a matter of kind of getting these panels lined up. And there's plenty of places where now these panels fit and lock onto the sides of the truck mode. Make sure these pieces are down. We can come to the wing. These pieces will fold up. They will slide together, tabbing together as one wing piece. We want to just fold it back, fold out his mirrors, and just make sure everything is all lined up. And now we come to these back wheels, and they will extend out on both sides, both pairs. They kind of better match the truck mode. And here's his core truck mode, but he does come with a part, this little trailer hitch part back here. And if we, with the gold piece facing forward, we can plug it in over these pieces. Again, this isn't necessary, but it helps lock it all down even further. But then that gives him his tow hitch. And so you can actually plug in MP-10's trailer. And here's a closer look at op.ex in his truck mode. Again, pretty much dead on to the IDW version of Optimus Prime from the comic. You get the nice silver stripes everywhere. You get some solid silicone / rubber wheels with some silver paint. You can see that it rolls quite well. No real gaps to speak of. Nice and heavy. He actually is about 8 inches from the back to the front as far as in his truck mode, so he's a very large truck. And again, this tow hitch is optional. It does help fill it out a little bit more, but then it comes with the same 2 tab slots that you can take MP-10's trailer, and if you just key it up correctly, OpX can pull the MP-10 trailer, and it looks nice, you know, pulled behind OpX here. Just really excellent version of Optimus Prime here. This is, you know, by far my favorite version of the IDW Prime we've gotten yet. So let's go ahead and take a look at some comparisons for this guy. For a size comparison with another Optimus Prime, here we've got the US version of Masterpiece Optimus Prime MP-10. You can see that OpX here is maybe 1/4 of an inch taller, not much taller overall than MP-10, but they have the same overall build, so you are getting kind of a Masterpiece sized and styled version of IDW Comic Prime. And so if you're looking for that, you can see here how well he stacks up next to, you know, MP-10 in his robot mode. Truck mode comparisons, you can see that they're roughly the same size in their truck modes. Just different aesthetics, of course, comic versus G1. And so you're looking for a Masterpiece version of IDW Prime. You really can't go wrong here with OpX. Comparing OpX with some other third-party attempts at IDW Comic Prime, on the left here we've got ToyWorld Orion. Mind you, I have a render form head, some extra paint and Repa labels on this figure. And on the right here we've got GCreation Ultra Maxmus, which was their take at a larger scaled version of IDW Prime. And you can see how they all stack up here in their robot modes. Of course, this was an original, kind of more classic styled version of Optimus Prime, and these two are kind of a more Masterpiece scaled. Now you can see here the GCreation's version is a little bit taller than OpX. He's kind of stretched out a little bit more, a bit more panelly, a bit lighter colors, and just kind of more anime styled. Then the other bigger features of the difference is that just how complicated Ultra Maximus is overall. I mean, I probably won't even transform him into his truck mode because he's just so complicated, and how kind of finicky the joints are overall, the different legs and stuff like that. Whereas this is just a lot more solid figure. Actually, it's a heavier figure overall. But here you can see their profiles side by side and kind of see how they all kind of stack up. And I think, you know, definitely when comparing OpX next to Ultra Maximus, OpX is just so much better to me than the original Ultra Maximus here. This is a nice kind of almost model kit version of Prime, but if you want a really solid comic IDW Prime, that's where OpX comes in. Truck mode comparisons with Orion. Again, Ultra Maximus is a bit too complicated to transform for the purposes of review, but you can see how OpX kind of stacks up next to Orion here in his truck modes. And again, my Orion here on the left from ToyWorld's got some Repa labels on him. I will note that this transformation for OpX is so much easier than even the transformation for Orion here. Orion is pretty complicated, and as you saw with the video, OpX is a nice, solid, clean transformation to get, you know, a much more accurate version of the IDW truck. And then very briefly, here's where OpX next to some Titans Return figures. We've got Super Ginrai on the right, and we've got Deluxe Class Kup, and you can see how OpX kind of scales with kind of classic / generations figures, if that's where you kind of want to have him fit in your collection, and give you a better idea just how large OpX is. Briefly, vehicle mode comparisons, just with Titans Return and Takara Legends. You can see just how large OpX is in his robot and truck modes when compared to, you know, your standard deluxe or leader figure. And a final comparison here is with some other generation toy figures that are more IDW styled figures. We've got their version of Jazz, J4ZZ, and we've got their version of Drag Strip Revolt. And you see how, if you've been collecting this line so far from Generation Toy, OpX fits in just perfectly with their previous figures that they've brought to retail so far. And vehicle mode comparisons with these IDW figures from Generation Toy and TransFormMission. You can see how this larger Masterpiece scaled versions of these IDW characters, or versions of the characters, look good side by side. Has nice detailed, super articulate, and just overall really nicely done versions of these characters from the comic. Some final thoughts for Generation Toy GT-3 Leader op.ex, or their take on an IDW or comics version of Optimus Prime. Now, I've been following this project from Generation Toy for quite some time, since we saw the original photos. We actually got a great prototype in at the Chosen Prime, and now here's a retail version of op.ex. And it's definitely been worth the wait. I know it's taken a long time, but the fit, the finish, the polish, the engineering, the paint, they've done an amazing job here at giving us this really wonderful version of Optimus Prime from the comic universe. I would actually say that this is probably one of my favorite figures of the past couple months, and probably one of my favorite Optimus Prime toys of all time. It's just a super, super solid release. I have very, very few problems with this figure, and I'm just really pleased that we now have it fully in hand. Now I know Takara and Hasbro are going to be releasing Masterpiece versions of Movie Optimus and Movie Bumblebee, you know, to kind of expand what Masterpiece really means. And I think that this version of Prime here kind of is a Masterpiece version of IDW Prime. And I kind of think it matches that quality of being a Masterpiece kind of level of figure. Again, the posability, the build, the engineering, the transformation is actually enjoyable. I kind of think this is Masterpiece class. And so if you want a Masterpiece version of IDW Prime, that's where op.ex kind of comes in. So op.ex is currently in stock at the Chosen Prime. If you'd like to add this excellent figure to your collection, I really can't recommend them enough, so take care.